David Burris.
Present.
J.R. Huddleston.
Here.
Deborah Johnston.
Here.
Bill Lukens.
Here.
Larry Pratt.
Here.
Craig Romey.
Here.
Linda Varvel.
Here.
Melanie Wilson.
Here.
Thank you.
Would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, Council, obviously you have different microphones in front of you. Audience, can you hear us any better? All right.
Cool.
Chris found these microphones to try and see if they work out better for us. So we'll make a judgment on them after we use them for a couple of meetings and see if this is the direction we want to go. As always, conflict of interest. If you have anything on the agenda that you shouldn't be voting on, please let the council know before you vote. Need a motion to approve the agenda?
Making a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Need a motion to approve the minutes from the February 21st council meeting?
With the
Make a-
date correction.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of the February 22nd council meeting.
Second.
Thank you.
So did we have a correction?
We have a correction.
Yes.
All right. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Need a motion to approve the bills in between?
Make a motion to approve the bills in between for $244,976.82. Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Motion to approve the current claims?
I'll make a motion to approve the current claims of $91,902.02.
Second.
Discussion?
I do. Page 10, clear to bottom. Equipment repair, 2 tasers, 4 cartridges, $4,853.15. Are they broke? Don't we have enough tasers, or what is it?
No, we did not have enough tasers, and we had a couple of them that had failed, and we needed more cartridges, and we needed training cartridges so that the officers could be certified to carry and use the tasers.
I understand that, but shouldn't all officers have the tasers prior? Did they not turn them in, or did they turn them in?
They had turned them in. To my understanding, a couple of the tasers had failed.
And the SRO, there was a new one for the new
one for him?
position
Okay.
needed.
So, yeah, that was a lot of tasing dollars.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Motion to approve the Wells Fargo credit card?
Make a motion to approve the Wells Fargo credit card claim, $4,907.12.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Into communications from the public, we do have a 7:10 public hearing. So depending on where we're at as far as communications from the public, we'll ask you to pause. We'll certainly bring you back up and allow you to finish. The other thing I'd like to point out is that when we get to the end of the agenda, there is an executive session. I anticipate that executive session may go a while. So I would ask you to keep your comments as concise as you can to give the council time to spend an executive session. So, Larry, you're the first one in front of us.
Good evening. I'm Larry David. I and two partners, all Rapid City guys originally. I'm living down here in Hot Springs now. We are hoping to establish a medical cannabis business in this area. We have made very good progress on getting a dispensary established in the city. We have what looks like really good support for that. The building is at the junction of the bypass and 385 between Dairy Queen and Sonny's Foods. It's a vacant building, and it is properly zoned in accordance with the city's medical cannabis zoning ordinance, which defines medical cannabis dispensary as a defined use. And we have gotten to a point with that where almost all of our research is done, all of our work in establishing the function of the building and the work that has to be done to make it work. And we're just about ready to push the button to send our application to the state health department to see if we can get approval of our operating procedures and everything else that the state requires, which is quite extensive. And we're just about there. We would also like to establish a cultivation unit. We would like to grow what we sell, and we would like to grow it in Hot Springs in a cultivation unit here if we can find a home for it. We have a tentative lease deal on the MacPar mini storage property with the vacant building in front by the highway. We think it's an absolutely ideal starting place for us to establish an indoor hydroponic cultivation program. And from what I gather from talking to as many people as I can, there's very, very good support to move in the direction of creating businesses and jobs around the medical cannabis and eventually what will probably be recreational cannabis business here in Hot Springs. We ran into a problem with trying to move ahead with the city on that property. The city passed two ordinances at the same time, same date, 1135 or 1235 and 1236, I think they are. 1235 is a zoning ordinance, 1236 is the medical cannabis ordinance. The medical cannabis ordinance lists all four license types in the ordinance. That would be dispensary, cultivation, manufacturing, testing. Each one of those are distinct operations that require separate licenses. The cannabis ordinance specified those four license types and defined the annual fee, license fee, which is $5,000. It's the initial fee to apply, $5,000 plus $5,000 on an annual renewal the first of the year. And it went on to define all of the activity that goes with those relative to the city. The zoning ordinance, however, only listed a dispensary, and it actually defined, created dispensaries as a defined use and numbered them, created a maximum number of 2 for the city. So we applied for that. We found that the property was in the proper zoning classification, highway service or general commercial, for a dispensary. When it comes to this cultivation, however, there is no defined use. There's no door in the wall, so to speak. You can't get there from here because if you apply, the planning and zoning cannot vouch for that it meets the zoning criteria for medical cannabis cultivation. So there's three possibilities that I see that I would like to have the council mull over a bit and give us some direction.
Okay, before you get into those three, we're at
Yeah.
7:10, we're at our public hearing time,
Okay,
so we need to pause for the public hearing,
yes, sure.
and then have you come back up. And again, if you could, kind of squeeze things down a little bit. All right, so we're at 7:10, a public hearing for an alcoholic beverage license transfer application from Misty River Tavern LLC for the retail on-sale liquor license, previously owned by Consor Corporation doing business as Bourbon County and in use at 705 North River Street. Is there someone here that would like to speak to that? And if you could give us your name and address for the record?
Sure. My name is Jack Schoof, S-C-H-O-O-F. We just purchased a few weeks ago, we just purchased the Bourbon County location that's on the agenda today. And at the moment, we live in Arizona at 398 Brandywine Circle in Prescott, Arizona.
Thank you. So, Jack, and there's Charles on the application?
Well,
is
I'm
what
Charles.
saying?
Yeah, I go by Jack. But
Okay. Have anything else you'd like to share with the council? Council, do you have any questions?
Have you been in this business before?
Pardon?
Have you been in this business before?
I have not been in, I've been in business for 40 years, but not in the bar liquor business.
Okay, now is this strictly going to be a bar, or is it going to be a lounge, a place to eat?
Yes, it will be a restaurant bar operation. And you might be thinking to yourself, what is a guy from Arizona wanting to do in Hot Springs, right? So,
Cool off.
pardon?
Cool off. Cool off.
Well, yes, for sure. Carolyn and I, who both own the property there, we had purchased a couple acres out at the golf course about 3 years ago. So we chose this place as a place to eventually retire to. And this property came up and we thought, wow, what a great opportunity, to be part of the community and make a difference here. And I guess this particular property wasn't open all the time and had some, whatever was going on, we're not sure. But we want to make it something you all, since it's your license, we want to make it something that you guys will all be proud of, and Hot Springs itself will be very proud of to have us as part of this.
So do you intend to be open year-round?
We do.
Okay, thank you.
I have to say, I love the name you've chosen,
Aw.
Misty River, and I'm kind of surprised that nobody's ever thought of that name before around here.
Well, I can't take credit for that, but one of my team members, in fact, I don't know, everybody should stand who's part of the team here that are going to,
Well,
Patrick and Brad are going to be running the operation for us while we're still in Arizona, and we'll eventually get here, but
I love that name, and it's very fitting.
it's a beautiful
Yeah.
name, absolutely. Thank you. And my background, the reason we chose South Dakota is I've had ancestors in South Dakota since 1880. So I've got great-grandfathers, grandfathers, fathers, and now myself, maybe my son, I don't know, but and others. So the Schoof name has been around in South Dakota for extremely long time. So they're more in the center of South Dakota. But we chose it here because, of course, you guys are the banana belt here, and so we tried to pick a place that we wouldn't totally freeze, so.
We get our cold days, but typically not this bad. Any other questions, council?
Well, thank you for investing in Hot Springs.
Welcome to Hot Springs.
Thank you. Well, we absolutely love it here, so there's no question about it.
So with the passing of this license per se, when are you planning on opening and?
As soon as absolutely possible, so I know you guys are going to do whatever you're going to do today, then it goes off to South Dakota State itself to figure their part out. But we've done all the paperwork we can, so as soon as South Dakota tells us the license is valid, we're going to try to open, within a week or so, depending on, how that all comes down, so.
Okay.
You'd mentioned you're going to be restaurant lounge situation. What hours of the day are you looking to be open?
Well, initially, of course, we got to walk before we run, but go ahead, Patrick.
Probably open around 3 o'clock to start. We'll go till 2 a.m., at least midnight. And then as we get into the summer and get going, we plan on being open 11 a.m. all the way through.
So would you be serving like lunch and a dinner or?
Yes.
At that point in time?
Yes.
Okay, it sounds real good. It's something that a community could use.
Thank you.
Do you be like 6 days a week or how many?
Well, if we don't kill them.
And our plan is to be open 7 days.
Yeah, we want to be open every day we can, so.
Okay.
Good.
Somewhere to eat later in the evening? It's exciting. Thank you.
Sounds like you're needing a gas station.
Any more questions, council?
None for me. I'm good.
I'm good.
Thank you, Jack.
Sure.
Thanks, Jack.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else from the public that would like to speak to this agenda item?
There's a hand up in the back.
Have someone in the back? Come on down. Name and address, please.
Josh Williamson. I live at 538 Albany.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to say this is a great group of guys, and I think it's going to be pretty exciting to have another restaurant in town. And after talking with them and being around them this last little while, it's just, I think they're going to be a great addition to the community no matter what they do, and especially in a business venture like that. So, thanks.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Someone else is coming up.
All right. We've started a trend.
Yes.
My name is Carrie Light, and my husband and I just bought the Norton Sinclair building in town on University Avenue. Prior to that, though, we have had the opportunity to get to know both Brett and Patrick in a professional as well as personal fashion, and they are really awesome guys. I found them to be true to their word, hardworking, and super dedicated to Hot Springs. And I agree with everybody else. We really could use a nice, classy restaurant downtown. I think it's beautiful, the setting, the place, everything about it. And like you, the name is just fabulous. So I just wanted to publicly say, I think it's a great idea, and I hope that you guys can allow them to have their liquor license. Thank you. Have a blessed night.
Thank you, and welcome to Norton's.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, we're equally excited about that. So, thank you.
Yes.
Anyone else? shouldn't have said we were on a roll. All right. Thank you very much. So we need a motion to approve, deny, or table the...
Can you close the public hearing?
I can, thank you. We'll close the public hearing at 7:20. Now, can I get a motion to approve, deny, or table?
I would like to make a motion to approve the alcoholic beverage license transfer application from Misty River Tavern LLC to the retail on-sale liquor license previously owned by Consort Corp. DBA Bourbon County and in use at 705 North River Street.
Second.
Second.
Okay.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Congratulations.
Welcome to Hot Springs.
We wish you all the success.
Yes, we do. Yeah.
All right. Our next communication is from the public.
No,
Wait.
back to
Larry,
public
so-
hearing.
Larry.
Thank you. Well, where I left off was talking about the path forward. It's not clear what to do. It may be that we're back to the drawing board with zoning drafting and through the process of amending the zoning ordinance once again in order to add defined uses for the other three license types. Another possibility maybe would be a use on review application that would allow the council to just basically bypass the zoning ordinance itself and just say this is an acceptable use. And that's a different process, of course. And then another possibility, and I don't know if it'll work with the state interface, but would be to just say we have a greenhouse application. Greenhouse is a defined use under your commercial zoning applications. And of course, it is a greenhouse. What we're growing inside is the issue. But obviously, if it was tomatoes, we wouldn't be having a meeting. The planning and zoning would say, yeah, that complies, and we'd get our certification, and we'd be on the way to the state. But so, what I would like is some direction, and initially, to know if we're barking up the right tree, if it's sensible for us to be pursuing this, if the council wants us to be moving ahead to try to get a cultivation license in the city. And I got to say that we're going to have the dispensary license regardless. We're not making it contingent on getting this other license. And if we can't get the city license, we will go back into Fall River County. We know that we can go out on a ranch someplace and find somebody that's will lease us a barn or let us build something, and we can grow there. We would much rather be in the city for a variety of reasons. The possibility of consolidating security and administration of these two business units close to each other and having a combined operations room where dried bulk flower can be taken from the cultivation unit over to the dispensary building and processed in our office there, that is packaged and labeled and prepared for sale, rather than having to do that at the cultivation unit, is a huge plus. So, and of course, the city looks at, do you want to have the revenue from the licenses and the sales taxes, and do you want to have the 8 or so employees that the cultivation would probably ultimately have in the city, or do you want it at all? Would you prefer that it be booted off to the county somewhere? So those are the questions. We're looking for guidance and also the timeline. We're paying rent on the dispensary building. We will continue to have that be basically just dead overhead until we actually have a crop that has been processed and can be sold in the dispensary, which will be next summer. So the sooner the better in terms of resolving whether we should be pursuing the city for a cultivation license or not. And I'd like to also say that I think there's a great opportunity for Hot Springs to welcome these other license types and as many people as want to. You're right to limit the dispensaries to 2. More than that, you might find failing businesses. But with these other license types, they're not local. So the cultivation, for instance, would be local, but the market is statewide. And the same thing would be on manufacturing, same thing on testing. Those license types have nothing to do with the local economy, really, other than that they just employ people.
All right.
That's all.
So Larry, what I'm going to ask public safety to do is go ahead and if you'd attend public safety to kick this around some more. Security certainly is a big issue with both locations. And it was through public safety that they worked out what we thought the right ordinance would be for dispensaries. And they were the ones that then took the recommendations to planning and zoning to work with them to see what the right mix would be. So if you would take this, your concerns and your ideas back to public safety to begin having that conversation there, I think that would be a good place to have the conversation.
Okay, and that meeting will be, I think, April 7th at 2 p.m. here at the Mueller Center, and I'll give you more than 4 minutes on the agenda this time.
Okay, thank you.
Can I make one comment?
Sure.
And the only reason I'm making the comment, Larry, is because we have a large audience here tonight, and you made a comment about sales tax associated with medical marijuana. And unless something has changed that I don't know about, currently medical marijuana products are not within the sales tax base. That was kicked around the legislature, but I don't know that it progressed. So anything you sell out of your dispensary, we do not get a sales tax revenue from. And again, there was another bill within the legislature that said within cultivation, they would tax 15% of the value of the product cultivated, but that tax would go, that 15% would go into the state medical cannabis fund. So there again, the city would not receive any tax revenue from what you may grow in your cultivation business. So as it stands right now, the only thing the city will get from the medical cannabis business is the $5,000 a year license fee. And so because you mentioned taxes, and we do have so many people here and we have a lot of people that watch this, I just wanted to clarify that whether we say yes or whether we say no, unless the legislature changes the law, there's no sales tax or any other tax benefit that comes to the city as a result of medical cannabis. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you. I didn't know exactly how that worked. I haven't really looked at taxes. Is it possible that the city could add a tax?
No, I don't know. We don't get to do that. We don't.
You don't adopt a sales tax that's specific to.
We're limited by law on how much sales tax we can add, and we're there. So anyway, I'll end my comments with that. Thank you.
My conversation, of course, I'm looking forward to when it's recreational too, and I think that there will be tax benefit to the communities on the sales, retail.
I can't believe that we wouldn't have some sort of tax and something that would support the city in doing this, because we'll have increased police issues, the security of it all, and every other state in the nation that's done this, they've rebuilt their cities on the profits that they've gotten off of this. And we are an agricultural community and state, and you'd think we would be able to prosper off of that.
And I would like to, if I can, I concur with Bill on the comments about the legislature. I too have been trying to stay on top of that and research. I haven't seen where any of the money's come back to the city. However, they do. There is a 15%, I believe was correct, to the state on, but a comment you'd made earlier about maybe changing the nomenclature to a greenhouse. I would not do that. Stay in the guidelines the state has established as a cultivation site, or as a dispensary, or as a testing site, or a manufacturing site. I would not change those in the event it could be denied, or somebody's trying to think that you're circumventing what's in place, and I surely wouldn't do that.
Well, thank you. That's exactly the kind of feedback we're looking for, and I will take it up with public safety and see what we can do there. And like I say, if it's too much of a sticky wicket and there's not support for it, we can abandon that plan and move off to a different place.
But to assure you and the audience and those listening in, we are staying on top of that as much as we can. We're watching all those bills that are at legislature, trying to get any information we can from that.
Good. Thank you.
I have a question.
I'm sorry, just reading up on what Rapid City has done, they did also limit the dispensaries in there, but they are not limiting the other aspects, the manufacturing, the testing, because that's industry, I believe, that is their thought on that. So.
Yeah, just to say something about law enforcement. If we do this the way we'd like to, using that building down by the sewer plant, we can lock down that place so hard. There will be, especially if we don't have to have any business conducted there. It will be very, very tightly controlled and secured, and I doubt if there will ever be a law enforcement issue anywhere around that building. It just be impossible to get, and there's no money going to be stored there. So that's the other part of it. The dispensary is going to be the focus for security, and we're concerned, of course, about employee safety, and of course security for money and cannabis product. But that building is a real high visibility, and we've got a security plan that will make it pretty much like CIA headquarters as far as trying to approach it to get in without authorization. So,
All right.
And we can go over that with public safety.
Craig?
You say we can't pass it. Why can't we do like we do the alcohol and
Because at this point, it's not allowed in statute. They're still working out those details though, so I'm not saying it will never be.
right now we can't? Okay.
Yeah. So until the legislature, is done this time around, we're really not going to have clear laws telling us what we can and can't do. When it comes to the taxes, it was proposed to have a 15% tax, but that goes to the counties. It doesn't come back to municipalities. So need to let the legislature do its thing so we can see what we have to work with.
I'm surprised that the Urban League is not keeping this legislature from leaving the cities hanging. With that.
They've worked very hard.
They support all legislation to help cities maintain or obtain some of the tax.
Well, I'm available for questions, and if any of you want to call me, please do. It's on the sheet I handed out, my phone number, and I'm available. So.
Thank you, Larry.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Larry.
Thanks so much. Good luck.
All right. Dustin. Dustin's here for an update on the Tom and Ann Mccully Vision Fund for Hot Springs.
Hello, thanks for having me. Like he said, I'm here just for an update on the Tom and Ann Mccully Vision Fund that I get to be actually excited to be on and provide.
Dustin, can you get your address, please?
Oh, sorry.
Just for the record, okay, sir?
Dustin Kleinsasser, 12807 Pine Haven Road.
Thank you, sir.
Yep. And so, being the longtime Hot Springs resident, I'm actually quite excited to be on this committee. We have only met twice since we've been since we've joined or created the committee. We're told that we have, let me find the papers, approximately 3,700 and some funds available this year to give away as a grant. As a committee, we're not going to rush into it. We want to make sure we do it right and provide the best opportunities for events, projects, fundraisers here in South Dakota, or excuse me, Hot Springs. And so we're this year we're going to hold on to these funds. We're going to create an application that people can fill out, which is currently what we are working on. We've created a draft that at our next meeting we're going to review. We just want to make sure as a committee that we continue with the values that Tom and Ann Mccully have for this fund and that they had for Hot Springs, which is vision to support activities and projects that would not currently receive financial support from the city of Hot Springs. So we want to make sure we stay to their what they want, what they see the fund being, and what it could be for Hot Springs. So our goal is to get the application finalized, then determine how we're going to get it out to the public, who can apply, and then I think it says in here, by the distribution of the funds by March 31st of 2023. Before that, we'll come to you, propose, or make the request to the Hot Springs Council for distribution of the funds in March, is roughly what we're thinking. So nothing's going to happen, no funds are going to be distributed in 2022. We're going to create the process and the application and go from there. Any questions?
Oh, that's a good timeline for me to hear. We'll make sure we talk about it and create a place to put those budgeted funds for an expense for next year. So,
perfect.
Thank you.
Anything else?
It's very exciting.
Council?
Yeah, it is.
Great job.
Thanks, Dustin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Any other communications from the public? All right, I have a proclamation I would like to read as part of the communications from the public. Howard, are you with us?
Yes.
Come on down.
You might want to go down
Bob, do you want to go down? Would that be easier?
Yeah.
Take the microphone. Trip on all these cords. Watch the cords.
Pardon?
Watch the cords.
Watch the cord?
Yeah, this one particularly
It's a long way
looks.
down.
All right. Office of the Mayor, Hot Springs, South Dakota, Proclamation. Intellectual and Development Disabilities Awareness Month, 2022. Whereas, individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities and traumatic brain injury, their families, friends, neighbors, and co-workers encourage everyone to focus on the abilities of all people. And whereas the most effective way to increase this awareness is through everyone's active participation in community activities and the openness to learn and acknowledge each individual's contribution. And whereas opportunities for citizens with intellectual and developmental disabilities and traumatic brain injury to function as independently and productively as possible must be fostered in our community. And whereas we encourage all citizens to support opportunities for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities and traumatic brain injury in our community that include full access to education, housing, employment, and recreational activities. And whereas individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities and traumatic brain injury deserve nothing less. Now therefore, I, Robert Nelson, Mayor of the City of Hot Springs, do hereby proclaim March 2022 as Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month in Hot Springs, South Dakota, and urge my fellow citizens to recognize that our communities are strong when everyone participates. Take time to get to know someone with a disability, recognize ability at work, and see what he or she has to offer. So Howard, who do you have with us tonight?
This is Lauren Van Cleve.
Lauren?
This is Vicki Scott.
Oh.
Hi.
You want this?
Yeah, he wants that.
All right.
Okay.
Who else do you have with us?
And this is Anthony White.
Anthony, thank you for joining us. And?
Vicki Scott.
Hi, Vicki. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
Do you want that?
Take that for it. You want to get a picture? Yeah. Yep, come on in, Anthony. That way you get.
My brother-in-law lives there.
Yeah, it's a big.
Hi.
Thank you.
Howard, thank you for everything you do, sir.
Thank you.
All right, takes us to our personnel actions. Can I get a motion?
Communications from the public?
Oh,
Sorry.
communications.
Yeah. Is there anyone else? Like to communication from the public? I spoke up before I read the proclamation. So. All right. Can I get a motion to approve personnel actions A through E?
Make a motion to approve personnel actions A through E.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The motion passes. On to ordinances. Ordinance A, first reading of Ordinance 1241.
Make a motion to approve the first reading of Ordinance 1241, an ordinance adopting a wayfinding program.
Second motion.
Discussion? All right, to update the council, John, our previous city administrator, had continued the work of previous city administrators to identify wayfinding signage that will be on Highway 385 as it gets reconstructed through town. And to work with the state, we have to have an ordinance that identifies the criteria for what kind of signs are allowed. So that's what this ordinance does. And I believe you got the second half of the ordinance. This is required before we make an application with the state for where we want all of the wayfinding signs, and there's been 20-plus locations that have been identified to have the wayfinding signs updated when the new highway goes through. So this is the first step in the process. If council approves this, then we'll actually be able to make application to the state identifying where we want those signs. But we have to do this first. Any questions?
Mr. Mayor, would it be okay if we listed some of the eligible destinations just for the sake of the public?
Absolutely.
Under section 7202, it says eligible destinations. The destinations meet one or more of the following criteria. Public places owned and operated by federal, state, or local governments or their agencies. Public or privately owned natural phenomena. Public or privately owned historic, cultural, scientific, educational, or religious sites. Areas of natural scenic beauty or naturally suited for outdoor recreation or interest. Public or private destinations that serve to promote tourism. So for a community like Hot Springs, where we've got a lot to offer that meet this kind of criteria, this will allow us to let folks that aren't familiar with Hot Springs know where to find the fun stuff.
Any other comments? So it's not about advertising businesses, it's about advertising our parks, our museums, those types of things, and other significant private locations, public or private locations. But it's not about advertising businesses.
But wouldn't a business that promotes tourism and is also specific, an outdoor recreation or a naturally beautiful site qualify?
When you put it that way, yes.
Okay.
And the significance behind that is the public or private destinations to promote tourism, outdoor recreation. Yep. Any other questions? Any questions from the public? All in favor?
Roll call.
Roll call.
David Burris,
Yes.
J.R. Huddleston.
Yes.
Deborah Johnston.
Yes.
Bill Lupins.
Yes.
Larry Pratt.
Yes.
Craig Romey.
Yes.
Linda Varvel.
Yes.
Melanie Wilson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Motion passes. On to resolutions. Resolution A, Resolution 2022-10, Bridge Reinspection Program Resolution.
Make a motion to approve Resolution 2022-10, Bridge Reinspection Program Resolution.
Second.
Discussion. So we do these every year, I believe, to make sure that our bridges are inspected and safe for the public to use. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Into our new business items. New business item A, a discussion only, a potential for city to pay for volunteer food, snacks, and beverages. I had mentioned at a previous council meeting, this was something that I wanted to bring back in front of the council. And in your packet, there's a sheet that was prepared by Kathy, our recreation director, to help you understand the cost associated with preparing the gymnastics program for the summer recreation. Currently, the city has an agreement with the Hot Springs School District to use their facilities if they're not using them, for the city to be able to use them. Likewise, the school can use our facilities if we're not using them. So we've already entered into that kind of partnership. And the reason that I wanted to talk with you about this is rightfully so. There's been discussion about making sure that the taxpayers' dollars is spent appropriately. And in the past, there's been some difference of opinion of whether the city taxpayers should be paying for beverages, volunteer food, snacks, and beverages to help the folks, the volunteers that step forward and help us prepare, and by actually moving the gymnastics equipment from one school building to another in preparation of the summer recreation program. It's been pointed out that when we talk about, I want to make sure I use the language correctly, food, snacks, and beverages, that when I was on council, I opposed taxpayers purchasing coffee and water for city employees. I didn't think it was appropriate that we spent that kind of money. So the question was put to me, well, why would I be in support of this? This is different, at least in my opinion, because for the most part, it's volunteers that help us get this job done. There are city employees that do it, but we don't have enough city employees to get the gymnastics equipment moved in the time frame that we need to. So a lot of the gymnastics folks will step up and volunteer. Their parents have been known to volunteer to help get this done. So when you look at the cost at the top of it, in the past, we've used up to 12 people to get this taken care of. We have city staff that is driving the pickups and the trailers to help relocate this equipment, move it from one building to another. So there are those costs. And then when you factor in the cost of laborers, and what we've done here is we've simply taken the professional wage rate that the city would charge for a laborer at $9.45 an hour, and we've applied that to 10 laborers. So you come up with a cost of $875.20 in labor to get this equipment moved. Versus, if you look at the bottom of the page, what I'm advocating for is to tell these people thank you for stepping up and helping out the community and get this equipment moved, of $64. So when you're talking about the appropriate expenditure of tax dollars, we could not approve $64 for snacks, beverages, and we could hire it out and get it done for $875. I've talked with Rod Fortin and anybody on council that has been to South Dakota Municipal League training. Rod Fortin is with the Department of Legislative Audit, and I put the question to him, is it appropriate to spend these kinds of dollars for this kind of thing? And his point was, well, you can spend $64 or you can spend $875. What do you think is the more appropriate expenditure of of taxpayers' dollars? So that's why I'm asking you to advocate, or I'm advocating for getting on board with thanking these folks for stepping forward and helping out the community. There's a lot gained. We partner with the school system, and I just think it's the appropriate use of it. We're not voting on it tonight, but I'd just like some kind of indication from you folks whether you think that's an appropriate direction to go, or you would advocate for hiring laborers to help us get this equipment moved. Kathy, are you here? Do you have anything you want to add?
Kind of had laryngitis, so basically these numbers are based on 2021. In previous years, starting in 2017 when I started doing this, Billy was working, other people were working at higher rates of pay. The other thing that's critical is this is the school equipment, and they know how to put it all together. We don't try to put it together without their guidance. So I think this is really important because I think this has been going on. I don't know, I'm not from here, but I think it's been going on at least 3 generations. So the collaboration is just tremendous to this program. So, but these were based on 2021 numbers. So I think that's all I have to add.
Council, do you have
I
any
wrote
questions?
something down. Examples of volunteer groups in Hot Springs. Keep Hot Springs beautiful. Volunteers who pulled the weeds along the business district the past summer. Christmas in the Hills, who helped put up the lights. Volunteers who helped in the parks. We as a council, people are responsible for spending public funds and should not pick and choose certain groups and individuals to cater to. I do not think we do that for any other group. Misty, what do you think we should do as finance officer?
I think this is great. The partnership and collaboration that has occurred for a number of years is a wonderful thing, and it is a shining example of what makes our community special. I would ask council, if you were to approve this, to help me determine what guidelines should be set when determining when and what is appropriate. And again, I just always have to emphasize the special stewardship we have over public resources. And I would agree, problems arise when employees or public officials pick which events or activities or volunteers should be supported and which wouldn't. So those are my thoughts. Thanks.
I've volunteered for many things in the past, and most of us that volunteered, if we wanted something, we put a couple bucks in the pot and go down and get something. We never asked for anybody to buy it for us. So me as a taxpayer, not a councilman, I don't want to see that my money spent on that when they volunteer in their help. If anybody knows what volunteers means, people who are freely offered to take part in a task, a person who willingly and without being forced, paid to do the same task. It's volunteer.
Jeff, you look like you wanted to say something.
Yeah, if I can just offer this from a recreation perspective, what you need to understand also is, and I support what Kathy is proposing here, and I'm also support the guidelines. I realize this is something, it's one of those things that's ripe for abuse if we're not careful, and so the guidelines are critical. But I will tell you that the National Parks and Recreation Association, Recreation and Park Association has identified that the cost of operating recreation programs without volunteers would be approximately 6 times the current national average. So they're critical. They're recognized as a critical part of that. And in answer to your direct comment, giving somebody a plaque recognizing them as a volunteer would, by your definition, be compensation. So that's my only comment on that. It's a recognized program within the industry. So
I never got a plaque either. So
I'm sorry.
Any other council comments?
To Craig's comments about Keep Hot Springs Beautiful and Christmas in the Hills and those organizations that are very integral with giving us a lot of the uniqueness and the quality entertainment that we have here in town. They also have their own funds and fundraising, and they do have funds backing them, and they can pay for their own snacks and drinks and whatnot. But this being a city function, functioning with the City of Hot Springs Recreation or down the road, and in the past we've had like the Rotary or other volunteers who have built our shelters in our parks department, in our parks, and we're going to have them do that again here at Brookside shortly. I'd love to be able to offer them water. Water's not free anymore in this day and age, but it would be nice that the city could offer some thanks and gratitude for the help that people bring to city projects.
I agree with part of Craig's statement when he talks about the different organizations that help. You would reference the folks that were good enough to step up and go through town last year and pull weeds for us. I see that as the best comparison to what I'm asking for here, in that it was disappointing for me that we couldn't find the staff to pull our own weeds. And it was embarrassing that had to count on the public to help us do that. But it's because we didn't have the staff to do it. When you put those weeds on a list of priorities, they didn't jump to the top. So these folks stepped up and said, we'll help you do what traditionally we should be doing. It's the same thing here. We're trying to put on a recreation program that we don't have the staff to fully put together, nor do we have the skills to assemble it. So in those situations where we find we don't have the staff to do what we should be doing, and a volunteer group wants to step up and help us, and we can't find a way to say thank you for doing that, that's really disappointing. So as I said, I agree. We need to be good stewards of the taxpayers' dollars. So good stewards is to not spend $64 to say thank you and potentially spend $800 to get the work done. That's good stewardship.
Well, if that's the case, I think every volunteer group in Hot Springs ought to come to the city and ask for donuts and water and stuff when they do something.
Again, for me, the distinction here is if we can't get it done ourselves and we have to ask for the public's help, or we're willing to accept the public's help, we ought to step up and recognize them and say thank you. And if that's giving somebody a bottle of water, if that's giving some high school kids some donuts, shame on us if we can't find the right reason for saying, yeah, let's do that.
I think it should be a simple, thing to be able to say thank you for the people that are willing to help us. I agree with Misty. It does need to be proceduralized, not overly, but we don't need to put Kathy in a tough spot to where she gets hammered every time we approve claims because she spent $20 on donuts and water. So I would certainly support doing this with a properly simple procedure that says, that has the right questions that we can do what we need to do, and say no when it's appropriate to say no, but allow us to say yes when it's appropriate to say yes.
So shouldn't she have called somebody at the city and got permission to do it before she bought it and expected the taxpayers to pay for it?
May I speak for myself here?
Sure.
The precedent was set the previous year in 2019. There was never a line item that was separate. It was in the budget for these reasons. It's a very popular program, and there was never a question. So the precedent, if it had not been set, of course I would have asked. So I was shocked if I didn't even see it on the agenda, or I would have been here, because I have these numbers. You see the sheet I do every year. So I think the apples and apples here that's very important is to hire all these people to complete this project, the most popular of summer rec, also requires 4 to 5 forms for every person hired. So football team people, wrestlers, basketball, dads, whoever's doing this stuff, if we were totally legit, this is a lot of manpower from me, finance. It goes through you every time somebody's hired seasonally. I mean, we're talking about a ripple effect that is quite significant for the summer rec program annually. So I don't know if that wasn't clear here, but there's more things involved. So, anyway.
I think we can argue semantics all we want, but I think reality says that we as a council need to figure this out, give back to the community what's right, but also we need to make sure that we take care of the taxpayers' money. So that's my thoughts.
My only thought on this whole thing is if anybody is to volunteer to help me do something where I'm getting to the point at my age that I can't do anymore, I always offer a meal, I always offer a drink. That goes along with appreciation. I was raised that when somebody goes out of their way to help you, it comes back to you in other forms, in other ways. My honest opinion here is we're trying to kill flies with baseball bats. The thing is my personal opinion is, the long and the short is you're talking about $875, and you have all these folks that stand behind the rec program that are willing to help. And me individually, I might be able to drive a truck and help, but loading stuff, that's not going to be me. So in this case, the reality is I'm saving money. And if it becomes such a big deal that we can't decide whether or not we're going to spend $64, I will donate half of that myself if somebody else wants to donate the other half. Because it's kind of ridiculous we're having a debate over $64.
We have a bunch
I'll
of
donate the other half. That
I
way
would
taxpayers don't have to pay it.
would
That's
donate
what
the
we've
other half
always done
too.
in the past.
I'll be more than happy to donate.
So would I.
It doesn't really matter to me where the $64 comes. That's very cheap.
It is.
And the thing is, it's good for everybody here that's actually helping on this list, that they know that we do appreciate your help. It's not just, I don't have any family members in this, but I'm more than willing to help. Now, I will be honest, I won't be a physical help, but I would definitely help as far as paying for some of this if it comes down to it. But my opinion is it's really kind of ridiculous that we're having a debate over $64 versus $875.
It's my opinion that with proper procedures or process in order to get this $64 is the way we ought to look at it. However, we shouldn't make it so stringent and arduous that it would be hard for someone to apply for it. I concur with my fellow councilman, Mr. Burris, and I would donate the full 64 myself.
Gerald Colligan, 1038 Evanston Avenue, part of the, I'm on the Parks and Rec Committee. We've got a couple projects this spring that will definitely be improvements to the city. Deborah mentioned one of them, the Rotary Club will be putting up a shelter at Brookside Park. For part of the discussion, yeah, what about the possibility of a meal there for those guys, since they raise money for other things in the community. Plus, the Rob Mason family has donated a lot of money for playground equipment for Chautauqua Park. When they put their group together, their volunteers to put the playground equipment, what's the possibility of a small meal for them too? Or will that come out of their pockets, whether it's the Rotary or the Mason family? Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I say something? Sure. Just a minute. I won't take more than 1 second. Barb Walter, 2342 Jennings Avenue. Me, as a volunteer myself, I volunteer from my heart.
I don't care whether I get anything back. It's to help the city and whoever I'm volunteering for. And I think that's what all the volunteers that volunteer in this city, it comes from their heart. They don't expect anything, but they do appreciate it, especially last summer when we were weeding in such high temperatures. So I just wanted to say thank you to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barb.
Thank you, Barb.
Thank you, Barb.
I agree with Dave. I wanted to put this in front of council, not because these folks were asking for, anything. They didn't say, unless we're compensated somehow, we're not going to do this. And that's why I feel even that much stronger about it, to Dave's point. If you ask somebody to help you, we just say thank you. That's what we do. And I agree, to squabble over $64 just seems wrong. So what I'm looking for is some kind of guidance from the council. Do you want us to dig into this some more? Or when these kinds of expenditures come up, are we going to be on board with them? Or are we going to be fighting over it down the road?
Well, I think if we do this, we're going to have to do, like Jerry said, a bunch more.
I suspect that will be in front of us, and
Okay. Like everything else that we do, we look at every venture, every thought, every program that comes across our desks, and we look at it and we consider it. And in my honest opinion, that's the same thing we'll do with all these. We will consider it as we go.
Come on forward.
Would it be okay if I just speak from here, because it's hard for me to get down there, I'm pretty sure I can speak loud enough. I just wanted to say, from the information that I've heard tonight.
Excuse me, would you mind saying your name and address, please?
Carrie Light, 843 North 24th Street, Hot Springs. Just on the information tonight, seems like a really big no-brainer, 64 versus 800 something. I don't know who this recreation program is for. I'm assuming young folk.
yes.
Right? So that to me is really pertinent. We need that for the young people. And the other factor of having specific people who know exactly how to do this is really important. I think those are really good reasons that might differentiate this from some other kind of volunteer program. Beautifying hot springs is awesome. I'm handicapped. I would volunteer to do weeds, but I just think the recreation program for kids is kind of in a completely different category that's super important. And if we can give them something for $64, I would donate all of that myself as well. And I'd much rather do that than us pay, almost $900.
It's for the summer recreation program for the kids, yes.
And that's just for one way. We have to pay it again when we put it back at the end of the season.
I think for the kids, it's well worth it.
No, I agree. And she utilized it from her already allocated budget. It wasn't anything above and beyond what she was already budgeted for her department.
All right. We've taken up a good amount of time on that. Let's go to new business item B, possible motion and discussion to acknowledge a date change.
Make a motion to acknowledge a date change from March 24th, 2022 to March 29th, 2022 on the approved special sale alcoholic beverage license application granted to the Hot Springs Chamber of Commerce for the Chamber Mixer event at Chautauqua Artisans Market.
I'll second the motion.
Discussion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The motion passes. New business item C, a possible motion discussion to appoint Councilmember Deborah Johnston.
Make a motion to appoint Councilmember Deborah Johnston to represent the city during the 2022 Consolidated Board of Equalization meeting.
Second.
Third.
I'll be abstaining.
Well, you don't get paid.
Discussion. Misty, am I correct that the county will be discussing this tomorrow? Or?
I thought it was at a meeting last week.
Last week?
But
Okay.
I do not have the date set yet, but I will let you know when
Thank
they
you.
scheduled the dates.
All right.
And thank you.
Thank you.
And
Look at that look. You've done this before, right?
so one last chance, Deborah?
It's going to be a tough year, I think.
It's not bad. You'll survive it. It's not bad.
All right. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. New business item E, a possible motion discussion to change golf course pro shop manager job description.
Oh, you missed D.
Miss D.
D?
D.
All right. New business item D, a possible motion discussion to acknowledge the notification of raffle.
Make the motion to acknowledge the notification of raffle for Empower Coalition of the Southern Hills Incorporated for Toys for Kids Dart Tournament fundraiser to be held 3/26/22 at the American Legion.
Second.
Discussion. So anytime any organization is going to hold a raffle within City of Hot Springs, they need to let us know, so this is their notification to you that that's what they're going to be doing. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The motion passes. Second time, new business item E, a possible motion discussion to change golf course pro shop manager job description.
I will make a motion to approve the change of golf course pro shop manager to job description to golf operations manager and adjust the top of scale for the position from $15.14 per hour to $21 per hour exempt, plus 25% of lessons. Golf Advisory Committee concurred and recommended on the 14th of February of 2022.
Second.
Jeff?
First of all, allow me to apologize for not being here at the last council meeting. I was detained by snow. I think had I been here, I would have tried to elaborate a little bit and answer some of the council's questions. The purpose of tonight's resurfacing of this is A, we have to get this position filled, and B, I need to try and answer a few of the questions council had. Let me give this statement up front. One of the things that I've been tasked with by the mayor, by council, is to ensure that our enterprise funds are profitable and at some point pull them off of the need for any subsidies from the city or any other fund. And that's a primary goal. So to that end, we have to ensure, and the golf course being a topic tonight, we have to ensure that we put and we hire in place there very capable, broad hospitality recreation managers. I've had several inquiries from outside of the city, and the topic is always, what are we doing with this salary? We've got to get it where it's somewhat competitive. We're not trying to meet Rapid City or whatever. One of the questions that came up though was, what is the actual cost of us doing this? Well, let me say, aside from the intangible, we put a professional in there, they'll do better. Aside from that statement, let me say that the increase that we're suggesting to top of scale is $3.34 more per hour than the current incumbent. That equates to my having to produce 425 additional rounds for this next year. That's not tough to do on a 12,000 round course. The simple estimates alone in the industry are 5% increase for 22. that's more than enough to cover that. But that doesn't really address the issue, or that doesn't cover the entire issue, in that we need, and let me preface this last statement by saying this, that the incumbent, Kathy has done an incredible job for all the years she's been here, no doubt about it, and I was very impressed coming into this to this position with the things that she has accomplished in her years here. She's out of here in about 4 weeks. We've got to get her replaced. In her replacement, we want to be a little broader than what she has done. She has been literally a pro shop manager, done an excellent job. We need a golf program operations manager, somebody who has a good handle on the advertising, the marketing, the social media, being able to do hospitality events, et cetera, in addition to being able to give golf lessons if possible. This is a big ask. I've got a huge ask out there. I'm not sure that it's going to happen overnight, but I've got to look for these people, this type of person for that position, and I've got to do it right away. And that's the reason for the urgency on this matter and the reason why I resurfaced it tonight. I'm available for questions. I did provide a worksheet to try and answer some of the questions the council had. If you have any questions about that, I'm more than happy to answer those.
Should we table this till after executive session?
No.
Okay.
As I was reading through the motion and the information that we were given, one of the things in here was that we should be having a whole lot more tee times than what we do, to the tune of we have like 12,000 a year.
Yes, 13 for last year. Yeah.
And we could have 40,000, and all we need is another 450 to pay for this position. So if we get someone in there that can market it properly, and we have a new RV park right down next to the thing that's just come in, and those people are going to, just out of that, I know we'll get a lot more tee times out of that business. And Kimosabi is expanding, and we're going to have a lot more golfers coming to the area and staying for longer periods of time, and I think this will easily get those 425 rounds added in the coming years.
Misty, help me. When we subsidize the golf course and the plunge, when we budget for the subsidy, does that come from the 212? So if we could consistently eliminate that subsidy, that would free up, in this year's case, $177,000.
Just for the golf course.
For the golf course. And that's the end game.
It is
to eliminate that in this case, $177,000 subsidy.
And I don't mean to paint a rosy picture, but I do believe that it's not that hard to get there. I really believe that. Professionally, I believe that we can get the golf course and eventually the plunge. The plunge is a little more difficult because of the loan that's out there, but we can still get there. I believe that we can get there by managing these facilities correctly. I'd like not to have to worry about the revenue generators, but right now we need to be concerned about them. So they've got to make every, and Ms. and I had this conversation before, every darn dollar that they can, not to be blatant about it, but they need to be realistic. We need to be realistic and earn every dollar that we can possibly earn. And Deborah's exactly correct. We've got 30,000 spots we could actually fill in a year if we could. I'm not saying we'll get there, but we can certainly make up the difference. So I am optimistic, especially with the golf course, that we can easily make. And the second to this, and I don't want to go into the alcohol issue discussion tonight, but I will say this: that I would be more comfortable coming back to council and asking to revisit some of those issues again once I have somebody in there that is a responsible, experienced hospitality manager that I know that I can trust and you can trust to operate those kinds of things dependably. So, anyway.
One thing I do want to acknowledge, Jeff, is last meeting there were a number of questions that the council had regarding the job description that seemed to be conflicts in statements, and it appears that you have cleaned those up. At least I didn't see the conflicts that we talked about, so thank you for doing that.
There were some clarifications that I had to make, and I went back and revised those based on council input. And what I will say is that as an overall issue here, what's important to understand is that we have a department head, we have Jason who operates the grounds, the maintenance, and those issues, and we have the golf operation itself. And those two are work together but are independent departments. They are, let me rephrase that. They are independent management pieces with essentially one department. But Jason has done a lot of this job description up to now, and he's done it graciously. It's not his responsibility. The media, the advertising, and all the marketing stuff is not something that he should be worried about. I want him cutting the greens correctly, so I offer a quality product to the golfer. And this person here needs to be working on those kinds of things.
So getting the right person in this position would actually free him up to do more.
Yes, God willing, we can get the right person in here. Yes.
So if you want to start a spirited discussion in Hot Springs, there's a lot of ways to do it. But 2 guaranteed ways are to talk about the Evans Plunge and talk about the golf course. Because as enterprise funds, they haven't been as successful as we would like them to be in paying for themselves. And what the city administrator is putting in front of you is a plan with the golf course to increase the revenue and begin having the golf course in this particular situation pay for itself and start putting money into savings so that the city isn't funding an enterprise fund. Any other questions?
No, but I do want to make the comment that the cleanup on duties for this position, I like.
Thank you, Dave.
And that was, I was the one that brought up a lot of the questions last meeting. So I like this a lot better.
Thanks, appreciate it.
And yes, I would consider hearing other things. Once you could show me this position is taken care of and filled, and within a year, year and a half, you could start showing that it made that kind of a difference, then I would be willing to hear about other improvements.
Absolutely.
Any other questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
No.
The motion passes. New business item F, a possible motion discussion to approve the amended job description for the City of Hot Springs Library Director.
Make a motion to approve the amended job description for City of Hot Springs Library Director as requested by the Library Board of Trustees.
Second.
Discussion.
I saw in the revised description that the library director's immediate supervisor will be the library board. Is the city administrator still in the chain of command for that position?
No. So let me talk about the changes I'm asking you to consider. The first one is not a change, it's a different way of listing the salary. The feeling is that showing it by annual salary versus hourly is a little more professional. It's more of what someone that would be applying for this position would expect to see. The second change, the immediate supervisor, striking the city administrator. In your packet, I included some references from codified law, South Dakota codified law, that deals with the library board, and the first one, 14-2-40, the duties of the trustees. I'll back up to 14-2-35. Codified law says the governing body shall appoint 5 citizens, broadly representative of the population of the local government unit. The duty of those trustees is to appoint a librarian to serve at the pleasure of the board. So when we hire a librarian, that whole interview process is done by the library board, the folks that you appoint to oversee the library. And we either accept or not their recommendations, but we're not involved in the interview process. That is by codified law, that is left up to the board to do that. An additional duty of the trustees is to adopt bylaws for the conduct of their business and adopt policies. They prepare and submit an annual budget request to the governing body, and then they adopt a final annual budget within those funds certified, and you folks have seen how that process works. But what is clear to me, at least, is that the library board are the folks that should be managing that library director, or that library director. If there's any concerns as a council or as a city that we need to address, then that should be addressed through the library board of trustees. By adding the city administrator to that mix, I can speak from personal experience. It made things a little awkward in doing that. So I think it's better to remove the city administrator. In that case, it would be council coming to the mayor, and then the mayor would make the case to the library board of trustees, work together there. I think is a better way to manage that. The other thing that on page 2, looking at bullet 10, hire and dismiss all library personnel. Dismissal can only be done by the mayor in consultation with the city's attorney, and then council can either agree or disagree to dismiss somebody. That shouldn't be a responsibility of the library director. And then the other two changes that I'm asking you to consider is bullet 12, 12A and 12B are simply a repeat. The assist staff in the performance of their duties as needed is bullet number 9, assist staff in the performance of their duties as needed. And then hires and dismisses, 12B, hires and dismisses all library personnel. Again, that's number 10, hire and dismisses all library personnel. So that was simply a duplication. So, and the final one is under the desired minimum qualifications. I'm asking you to consider striking desired. Desired minimum just seems like an oxymoron. It's either desired or it's a minimum, but it's not a desired minimum. So we're changing that to minimum qualifications. So those are the changes I'm asking you to consider. From there, does that answer your question, Bill?
It sounds like we are aligning with South Dakota codified law in our practices with the library director.
That's my feeling.
Thank you.
Jane, is that you?
Bob, I'm sorry, I just want to say, if appropriate, for me to sit on if the Board of Trustees invites me, I don't mind sitting on the board as well to provide city liaison as well.
And Mayor, can I ask that you clarify, you mentioned the dismissal. It's also in our policy that council approves all full-time hires.
Yes.
So you made a lot of effort to change and clarify dismissal, but it says that they hire employees, and there's no clarification that that's...
Yeah, and that's what I hope that I had spoken to, that they make the recommendation, they do the interviews, they make the recommendation to council, and then council either accepts or not their recommendation to hire who they've interviewed.
That's been the process.
Yeah.
Jane Farrell, 441 North River Street, Chair of the Library Hot Springs Board of Trustees for 35 years, over 400 meetings. God bless you all, but thank you for your support.
Did you say how many years?
35. I was 2 when you let me on this.
Thank you.
I don't know if John or Cheryl have anything to say. John? You're good, Cheryl? I have a great board. 3 of us are here tonight. Mary Kay Thompson would have been here tonight, so would Gary Merkel, but they couldn't be. We appreciate your support. I know you want to keep this really short, but I'll also remind you that Peggy is leaving the 1st of May. We have had no applicants for a library director. I've had some really marked moments of being library board or the chair, and one of them was when Don DeVries called me and said we had to close the library for Carnegie Library because it was dangerous. And we thought we'd be in the Lutheran Church, old Lutheran Church. Lutheran Church will always be heroes in my mind. We thought we'd be there for a year. We were there for 10 years until we could get our new beautiful facility built. I really don't want to have to reverse a phone call and call the mayor and say we have to close the library because we are not offering enough of a wage to get applicants. So I hope whatever your executive session is about and the discussion later, that you'll keep in mind that we're asking for someone of a master's degree and at least a bachelor's degree to be our library director, because we have a wonderful facility there. It's the heart of our community, and I appreciate all your support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jane.
Jane?
Thank you.
Did I summarize the changes that we had talked about to the job description correctly?
You did a fine job. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions from council? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. New business item G, possible motion discussion to approve and authorize the publication of the request for proposals.
Make a motion to approve and authorize the publication of 2 times of the request for proposal for 2022 airport haying sealed proposals. Will be accepted until 4 p.m. on 3/31/22 and will be opened and publicly read at the 7:10 p.m. April 4, 2022 during the regularly scheduled council meeting.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. New business item H, possible motion discussion to set a public hearing.
I make a motion to set a public hearing on 3/21/22 at 7:10 p.m. on the alcoholic beverage license application from Southern Hills Mercantile Tile LLC for retail on-off sale wine and cider and retail on-off sale malt beverage and South Dakota Farm wine license to be used at 445 North River Street.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. New business item I, the possible motion discussion to accept the resignations.
I'll make a motion to accept the resignations of Meena Patel, term expired 2/29/2021, and Vicky Haug, term 2021 to 2023, from the Business Improvement District Board.
Second.
Discussion. Misty, at Admin Finance, you had mentioned there was a bid board meeting. Was there any thoughts about who might replace these two?
Yes, they have some people that they're talking with.
All right, thank you.
If anyone is interested in serving, especially hotel or motel owners, they're specifically interested in your input.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. New business item J, a possible motion discussion to approve travel training request.
I make a motion to approve the travel training request for Police Officer Darcy Engel to attend basic law enforcement training in Pierre, South Dakota, 3/6/22 to 6/3/22.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Need a motion to go into executive session.
Make a motion to go into executive session in accordance with South Dakota Codified Law 1-25-2-1, personnel, and 3, legal.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. For those folks in the public, I don't know how long this discussion will take. In addition to the new business item that follows executive session, there may be an action that would be taken also depending on council's discussion in executive session. So we'll try not to keep you here past midnight. And I appreciate your patience. Jeff and Misty, if you would join us for the first part of executive session.
Absolutely. Okay, now.
Misty, you have us back?
I'll be back at 11:18. I guess I can make it 11:20.
All right, so we're in the new business item K. A discussion only, possible adjustment to wage rates for city employees, with the exception of the police captain, police officers, part-time lifeguards, and part-time head lifeguard. And first, I would like to thank the council, and I'd like to thank Misty and Jeff. Once again, I really appreciate that the council takes their responsibilities very seriously, doesn't rush through these kinds of decisions, and is willing to take the extra time necessary to satisfy themselves that they've listened to each other before they come up with any kind of recommendations. So, council, do you have any comments you want to add at this point?
This was really, really tough. It was really tough. It was really tough.
Yes, it was.
He was really
I'm tired,
tough.
I'm ready to go home.
Okay, I believe we have a motion.
So you have discussion only, so this is
Right.
the action.
But we had talked about taking possible action afterwards.
I thought that was legal. But you run it, I just,
Yeah. No, we had talked about possibly taking an action afterwards, but okay, so I need your guidance.
on the agenda it says discussion only, but if you want to take action, you
As-
can run the meeting and do that.
As we left, he said on mic that possible action would, so it's whatever's legal.
Yeah,
Can we make
you
a,
can do it.
Can we
If you
amend
want,
the-
I'm not gonna stop you.
can we amend the agenda at this point?
I don't think it's necessary.
My intent in saying that we would possibly be taking action
Then go ahead.
had to do with either what our attorney recommended or this particular one also. All right.
Okay. I would like to make a motion to increase the wage rates by $1 per hour for city full-time and part-time employees, with the exception of police captain, police officers, part-time lifeguards, and part-time head lifeguard.
Second.
Did you get Larry's second?
I did. Is that just for every employee right now to their base wage rate? Or is that to a top of scale for positions? Or what are you adding $1 to? Everyone who's on the next payroll gets $1 and we're not adjusting any wage rates, or?
Right.
Yes.
That's correct.
So that's just for all current full-time and part-time employees. It's not adjusting any wage rates for positions.
Correct.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
And that'll be effective.
Tomorrow.
July.
So officially then, would you like to amend your motion to say effective
Yes, I'll amend that motion.
March 8th?
to make that effective March 8th, 2022.
Second. Just to make sure.
All right. Any other discussion, council? Misty, would you call the roll, please?
David Burris,
Yes.
J.R. Huddleston.
Yes.
Deborah Johnston.
Yes.
Bill Lukens.
Yes.
Larry Pratt.
Yes.
Craig Romey.
Yes.
Linda Varvel.
Yes.
Melanie Wilson.
Yes.
The motion passes. So that takes us into committee reports, the finance officer, city administrator, and mayor report. With council's permission, I would like to defer the committee reports to our next council meeting, with the exception of a comment by Dave regarding potential burn of the remaining slash pile at the landfill.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Just so the public knows and everybody on council, those in the audience, we will be doing the second brush pile at Murph. They'll be burned, and we will commence that at 3 o'clock in the morning, early Wednesday morning. We are prepared. Contacts have been made, and we'll be running it under the same guidelines that we always do.
Any questions for Dave? All right.
One comment before I make my motion. My birthday's tonight, nothing over $100 in gifts. Make it small gifts. I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
So, do you mind pesos?
The motion passes.
Nope. As long as they're silver.
All right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It has been fun.